Hi, everyone. I'm Sean. This is episode 2 of the Love to Own Your Business podcast. For this week's episode, Operation Organization, we have guest Aly Luccari of Bright Organizing. It seems over the past few weeks that my focus has been on getting back to loving your business by shedding the extraneous. So I thought that I would bring an expert on the subject of organizing your business and personal life. That would be pretty fitting. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome to a show with the purpose of having a lighthearted discussion on great advice we've received as we grew our businesses, and also what advice we wish we got to avoid some of those missteps that made us not love our business so much. So hopefully you can avoid them as you grow. I started this series to complement the work I do with business owners that feel like their businesses really own them and provide experiences and develop the supports they need to put things right. So Aly, hi. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Did I just read that you just celebrated 15 years?
The end of this month is my official 15th anniversary, and it correlates with Hurricane Katrina.
That's a huge milestone, so congratulations. Yep.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us about Bright Organizing, how you started it.
Absolutely. I was working as an assistant for someone full-time who worked out of their home. They were a therapist, and she didn't need a full-time assistant. She just needed to get organized. And where I appreciated the opportunity to work with her, it was a challenge for me to work in an environment that was very cluttered, and I immediately realized the impact of the clutter on my productivity and being able to get things done for her, because I get excited when I get things done. This was in Louisiana. This was 2005 in the summer, and she had a lovely dog, and she had a dog door. And I kind of drew the line when the raccoons would come into the dog door to hang out in her kitchen, and my workspace was her living room. So, I talked to her about organization, and I researched getting organized and what needed to happen to create an environment that would support productivity. And that's when I realized what an industry this was, and reached out to someone I played poker with every Friday night who happened to know somebody who did this thing called organizing. Reached out to her. She said that she was looking to find somebody to refer her clients to because she was leaving the area. So, clouds parted, sunshine came down. It was just an amazing experience. And she taught me how she ran her business, and then I ran my business completely different. So totally grateful for her knowledge. So I spent my first day in business at my mother's condo in South Florida and watching Katrina hit the New Orleans area. And I lived 45 minutes north of New Orleans in Slidell, and got crazy lucky, minimal damage, needed a new roof, but everyone needed a new roof. And yeah, things were slow to start off, but stuck to it. And so it's kind of weird to have a 15th anniversary during a pandemic, because if Bright Organizing was a person, they'd be going, oh yeah, this is totally my comfort zone.
Yeah, but I think it's like, right. So two natural disasters, let's say, right? So right after, when people are really, they're cleaning out their stuff because it's all over the street, right? Or whatever, there's a real, what do I keep now, and how do I organize it into a smaller space while I transition from one to another, right? And then
right.
Now it's people have all this time at home. They're just like, they can't stand looking at their insides of their homes anymore. So
exactly.
I think this is a great opportunity for people to, do this.
Right. Post Katrina, it was all about, I lost it and I don't miss it. I don't need to replace it, and I don't need to acquire more. And this is obviously different. They haven't lost things, but it's the same kind of mindset. Oh, do I really need this? What can I let go of?
Did you hear people, I know, like, it's such a disaster, like it's such a shock and impact, but let's say I don't know, 6 months, 12 months later, what kind of things did you hear from your clients or from people as like when they reduced the amount of stuff that they had or what they had that was just the extraneous I've been talking about. So let's talk about all the extraneous stuff that I had. How much did they really talk about, wow, what a relief it was to sort of be less burdened?
It's interesting because it's almost like they don't know how to put words to it. And wow is a common word, and freeing, liberating, more time. I organized one woman's husband's closet, which I have a tendency to not operate in and organize an area that is somebody else's, because it's not my decision to make. It's not the person I'm working with decision to make as to what to keep. But we did tackle the husband's with the husband's permission. And when I saw her next, he was amazed. It saved him 15 minutes in the morning just having his closet organized. And people will say, oh, I don't want to spend 3 hours organizing my closet. And I'm like, you'll recoup that time pretty quick. Even though it's a different time, the overall quantity can easily be recouped. And when people are surrounded by things that don't serve them, I feel like they put up blinders. And putting up blinders takes energy that we're not aware of. So when you can take those blinders off and operate freely in your environment, then you're just so much more productive. You have more energy to focus. And when you put something down, you can find it quickly because it's not in a sea of clutter.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for me, if I have and I'm a pretty disorganized person, and I have to make myself consciously, because I'll just plop things down as I'm moving from one thing to another. Right, I'm just frenetic that way in many cases. There's just this low level of tension that I can't really understand. I can't put my finger on it. Right, there's an unsettled feeling, right, and then I'll get to finally organizing whatever that space is, clearing off the clutter on my desk, whatever the case may be, and then that feeling goes away, right? And I can't identify it right away, but it's literally just the visual chaos in my field of vision at that time that's just unsettling me, and I can't. It has nothing to do with work or whatever's going on. It's really just the space. So yeah, I can understand that totally.
Right. And creative people, you want to honor that. Creative people need a certain level of stimuli around them, but by wrangling it in and empowering yourself or people to manage it, then when you start to feel that anxiety, what you need to do to let go of it and make it happen.
Yeah. Start linking that feeling, right? It's like when we identify emotions for our kids, that is sadness, right? That is clutter, right? What do you love about your business? Like, what is it that you love about the business? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the product, but what do you love about your business?
What I love about my business is when I wake up in the morning, I have a smile on my face. And that's like the litmus test. And even if I have a challenging project coming up, it's still on my terms. We all have challenges, and dare I say, I have favorite clients, and I have clients that really challenge me, but I appreciate those clients that challenge me, because that's how I grow. I'm able to fit them in my calendar in a way that works for me, so I can honor that client. So no matter how big the challenge is, it's still on my terms as a business owner. And there's nothing better than waking up and being able to smile because I get to do my thing.
Yeah, it's an empowering feeling to be able to have a modicum of control over your destiny, right?
Right.
So,
right.
It wasn't always like that, though, right? How long do you think, in a span of years, was it always like this? Did it just start out like this and bang, I just love the freedom, or did it sort of grow into it and take some time? Like if you were to put up, 3 years in, or
it happened really fast, and it's because of the perfect storm. I started the very end of August. Things were really slow to start out. I had just moved to Louisiana 2 years earlier, had one job, didn't have a lot of connections in the community, etc. did join a networking organization probably about February, and things, I want to say February, March is when things really took off for my business. And as soon as I had that client base and I realized how I was waking up in the morning, and the first thought was, who do I have in my calendar? It became a drug, Sean.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Once you have customers, it's like you can relax a little bit and not have to worry if you're going to eat the next day, right? You know when you get your next fix, right? So it's like my next customers. Okay, so as long as I have 4 or 5 of them, yeah, you can start settling. So that's a really good point.
I was very blessed. It happened quickly, and I quickly formed an addiction to it. And then honestly, when I transitioned to Buffalo, I knew what it was like to start a business where I didn't know anybody. And I went out and I got a job. And I stopped waking up with that smile on my face. And that's when I just knew I had to get back to organizing and serve it. And it's not about organizing, it's about serving people, helping people truly live the life that they want and empower them. And I was honestly just too lazy to go back to school to become a therapist or anything.
Yeah, I can't go back to school again. It's like that confined space and, being droned at for hours and hours on end. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple of jobs up here, and yeah, if I'm not waking up with a smile on my face, I'm not doing the right thing.
I agree. You're not doing it right. We talk about this all the time. If you're not enjoying business and not enjoying your life, you're not doing it right. It's not that there aren't challenges, but we mitigate them, right? But since this is a show about helping people avoid the same mistakes that we've made, right? Why don't you tell us about a great screw up that you think you could have avoided if you had had that piece of advice ahead of time?
There's 2 different ones that come to mind. One is client related, and one is, dare I say, like marketing, or there's in your business and on your business.
I'll take 2. We'll split it up into 2 different segments, Mondays and Fridays.
Right. And I am totally guilty of turning any negative into a positive, because that's how we learn as business owners. And so a huge one when working on my business is not honoring a phone call that I received from A&E's Hoarders show. Right. And I kind of gave them my opinion on the hoarding shows. And it was funny because so here's a lesson on, being mindful of communicating with people. And when I took the phone call, it was dark, so it must have been winter time. I was definitely sitting in my car in a parking lot. I feel like I was getting ready for a meeting, or maybe I'd just come out of a meeting. I was like, oh, here, let me take this quick phone call for a hoarder show. And it turned out to be the real deal. And when I hung up, I was like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't have said some of those things. And so I wasn't surprised that I never heard back from them again. But several months later, I heard from a local organizer and said, we have 1 more slot left for a local organizer to come in and help us with this project. And I got in the nick of time. And so now I can say my pinky and my back pocket are on A&E's Hoarders episode with Mary.
That's fantastic. The lesson in life is always be diplomatic, because you never know. Right. That's a great lesson in communication for sure.
Right. And it's funny. That's an awesome segue to my lesson with my client, because it was the same thing. And I was very much a new organizer, and I was talking to the client's adult son, and he had something hidden away in the closet. We were working in his closet. And so I'm all about pulling everything out and if there's sentimental things in there, I believe you should shine a light on them. Well, this gentleman taught me that shining a light on sentimental objects is not always a good idea. Kind of brings a tear to my eye to this day to think that I was encouraging him to bring out this sentimental item that didn't belong out in his open space. Mm-hmm. And had I asked more questions about it initially, I'm hoping I wouldn't have gone, to the extent that I did, but it was something, it dealt with a pain that he didn't need to be exposed to that pain every moment he was in that room. And so it goes to communication. And what I've learned is you can't ask too many questions when you're in a situation like you and I, where we're knee deep into people's stuff. Yeah. And we get to know them intimately. Yeah. And when you have that relationship, establishing trust and communication and not being afraid to ask truly hard, difficult questions, and being ready to hear their answers and honor their decisions and their thoughts and their feelings is a lesson that I wish I had learned sooner. But I think that's something that only comes with experience.
I agree. This is when we're advisors, we have systems that really worked, and then we've done it over different iterations. So we think we have a pretty good. So when we come into our business and we're starting to develop what we do, and we're so excited to put our product out into the world, we forget that there's even similar nuance, like slight changes that really have big impacts from one person to the next that you wouldn't really think are very consequential. We deal with people's very private things, right? People's stuff is very private. People's financials are very private. And so when we start working into that, we have to be very mindful of that. Even though to us it's third party, I think you're right. It's just to learn to listen better, right? To what other people's opinions might be, and how that really affects how we do our job, right?
Absolutely.
What is a great piece of advice that someone gave you as you were began or quite along on your journey that you think that resonates today still, or really had a big impact on you?
My go-to when I'm trying to deal with a challenge business-wise is with great risk comes great reward. And I kind of don't agree with that, because if we jump out of a plane without a parachute, that's not a good risk to take. But I kind of tweak it to believe that when we're fearful of something, that's kind of when you tackle it, aside from jumping out of a plane. And those are the challenges that help us grow as a person and help our businesses grow. If we always stay safe and within our comfort zone, then we stagnate. And I used to use the analogy of when we're children and we're growing, the ends of our bones have growth plates, and those growth plates need to be challenged. If a young child has a bunch of muscle and that bone isn't challenged, it's not going to grow. I think it's important to challenge ourselves and do those things that scare us, whether it's opening up your books and talking financials with an expert, or opening up your attic door and letting someone look in it and see what you have behind it, or your basement. Tackling those things that scare us, I think, is important. And so I sort of tweaked with great risk comes great reward.
That's true, right? So out of our comfort zone, we don't grow as people. We don't grow physically or mentally, right? So that's a great piece of advice. A lot of people are afraid of that, right? I think that's how we got to know each other on our third iteration of knowing each other. We've known each other for quite a few years, right? Through this creators network. And for both of us, like the comfort zone of coming out there and doing a video production where it lives on the interweb forever, right? And so that's a pretty daunting, and you have to put in a comfort zone thing there too. But yep, so we're both living that now. So I agree 100%.
And embracing it. I think fear is the litmus test for doing things.
You have to ask yourself, why are you afraid, right? So in business, we do that. It's all about mitigated risk. Why are you afraid to take the risk? We can show them, right, that if you do X, Y, and Z, you have an 85% chance, but they're caught up in that 15%. I think that separates, a lot of super successful from the successful, right? Whatever the measure of success is, but what we would say from the outside, right? Not from the inside. Wow, the person really took a huge risk and really did something that they'd never done before.
Right. And sometimes it works. And here's the thing, if it doesn't work, then it's a lesson learned that you can apply somewhere else in your business or in your life. So the risk, I think the only risk is to not learn and not grow from the experience.
I agree. What's next for Bright Organizing? What's next in your docket, right?
Oh, what's next is, I've always kind of dabbled in the virtual organizing realm, especially when I was transitioning from Louisiana to New York, and then completely got away from it. And then, March 2020 came around, and I was like, "Ooh, let's promote some more of this handy dandy virtual organizing service." And now it's basically changing my goals in regard to the proportion of virtual versus hands-on, or do I say IRL? I sound really cool and be like, here's your virtual service and here's your IRL service.
Once you start making contractions, it elevates the level of professionalism of the business at least 342%, right? Because every major successful business has had 3 letters.
Well, the name of my business is actually Bright Organizing Solutions, which is BOS. Yeah. So I like to take the BS out of organizing. I'm going to have to give you credit because that just truly popped into my head.
That's a good one. I like that. I would take the BS out of BOS.
Right.
That's good.
So yeah, I'm totally transitioning to doing more virtual or digital organizing and recreating services. I need to communicate clearer on my website as to what the opportunities are available for people to get organized.
What kind of tips do you have for just like a first pass look? What is, I need organizing, I don't need organizing, I need, there's realignment, right? And there's turnaround, right? There's big sweeps. So to help people start chewing at the corners, right? What's the first step that they can take that makes it less daunting for them?
I have to go to really my first tenet of organizing, which is go deep and go to the very back of that file drawer because you haven't been there in a while. And it's easier to make decisions on that stuff in regard to, do you need it? Have you missed it? Does it need to be brought out to the front? Has it aged out? That's an easy way to clear space is when things age out. And sometimes people use that as a technique for dealing with their papers and such. If you leave it in a pile on your desk, and sometimes it'll age out because if you haven't responded to the thing on the bottom, it will come up again and now it'll get put up on the top. So now you've got duplicates. And so I'm using 2 hands. So you've got duplicates and, letting things age out is not really an organizing tip or technique that's effective. It's now multiplying your to-do list. So by starting at the bottom of that pile of papers, and I kind of got this from my mother who worked in an office. She'd tell me she'd have so much to do stuff that she would literally take her to do pile of papers and flip it over and start on the bottom and work her way towards the top. And yeah, brilliant. Yep. Moms are the smartest people in the world. I don't care what profession you're in, your mom can top you.
I agree that, the show MacGyver was definitely based on watching 300 moms and surveying them for all of the little fixes that they did, while they were camping, or whatever. But.
Right. So I like your nibbling at the corner analogy, because that's basically what we want to try and do, and start creating those neural pathways on letting go and decision making, and do it in a quiet environment with no judgment. When you look at something that may have aged out, do not beat yourself up over it. That is a waste of energy.
Yeah.
About moving forward, taking those steps to move forward.
That's great. That's a great
I can go
piece
on
of advice.
forever.
I know. But I love the idea of just turn it upside down and start from there, right? But that's a great analogy for all kinds of things, right? Just flip it over and go from there. It's the reverse perspective. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. I'll tell my mom; it'll make her proud.
That's right.
Who still thinks I'm insane for being a business owner? She's like, really?
There's people that, right? There's people that just don't. Why would you risk that? Why would you,
just go to a job, just be secure, get a 9-to-5, everything will be okay.
No, it's sport.
Right. I don't want to work. I'm too lazy to work. This could be an interesting thing. When I started my business, I always say play. Like, I don't work with clients, I play with clients. Yep. And it drives some marketing people crazy. My business coaches have been like, stop doing that. You're not scheduling a play date. Take this serious. I'm like, no, organizing is too serious to begin with. When I get in there and I'm working with somebody, and Sean, I would bet $1 million you feel the same way.
Yeah.
That you're getting in there and we're just playing. We're just seeing how things are working and how things are going. And I just had an epiphany. When children play is really work for kids. And that's how they learn and they grow, is through playing. And so I have a hard time giving up that term of, let's play in your drawers.
No, I agree. I think that I took to heart early in life, and I can't remember the saying exactly because it was a long time ago, but it was, why do you create a life that you need to have a vacation from, right? So then there was it was like part of a phrase, and I should probably remember it better, but if I'm going to pass it along in a public space. But so basically it's, you can work yourself where you need to get away from it, or you can have a life where you don't need to get away from it, right? And I chose the latter. And not that it's always been perfect and did that, but a very circuitous route certainly towards here. So I completely agree. It's you want to be able to enjoy every moment that you can, or at least create the best possible situation to have that happen as best it can. So
right.
Play away.
And really, is there such thing as perfection?
No.
Right. So unattainable, it's a waste of energy.
Yeah.
And so that's my theory. And, when we're in our businesses, we're learning and we're growing.
Yep.
And
my daughter goes to Suzuki, right? Buffalo Suzuki Strings, shameless plug, but their phrase is practice makes progress. And I always thought that was probably one of the better ways to represent that. The parting part is there anything that you'd like to recommend? Is there any last thoughts that like Neil would say, like shook something loose, or a recommendation for somebody that you think that would like to end on?
I would like to end on the note of giving people permission to be themselves. And I believe that if you don't want to get organized, you don't have to get organized. Don't do it because someone's telling you have to. Do it because you feel that's your path to greater success, however you define success. We don't have to do anything other than not hurt each other. That's kind of my theory. And we don't need to beat ourselves up over things that have happened in the past. It's about moving forward.
That's great.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. This has been fantastic. I really enjoyed our time.
Thank you.
For those of you at home listening to this, if you want to learn more about Aly's Business Bright Organizing, we'll have the link somewhere in here, but do you want to just tell everybody what's
At brightorganizing.com.
Okay, excellent. And if you want to learn more about what we do at SLC, at slcadvisorygroup.com. And we'll see you next month. And thank you again. Great talking to you.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep. Bye, Aly.